Hi, I'm Ben. Since it's spooky season, we're gonna have to go a little bit local. Here are the top 10 real haunted houses you don't want to trick or treat. Number 10. Nakagusuku Hotel. In 1975, a World Fair was planned to be held on the island of Okinawa, commemorating the American return of the island to Japan 3 years prior. Located on the Motobu Peninsula, this was a high-profile event to be sure, and one businessman from the capital of Naha saw a great opportunity for profit. The businessman chose to build the hotel with an excellent view of the Pacific Ocean and East Chinese Sea, and, however, construction was immediately hindered by warnings from monks that the land they were building on was supposedly the home to a great deal of sacred locations and burial grounds. These warnings were ignored, but as accidents during construction began to increase, progress was halted as the workers began to fear that the build itself was cursed. In an attempt to encourage the workers to return to their jobs, the businessman made a show of living on the premises until the project was finished. 3 nights later, the man lost his mind and disappeared. Do you think that you could stay for more than 3 days? It's pretty beautiful, so long as you don't mind the angry ghosts and demons. Number 10. The Lizzie Borden House. A bed and breakfast located at 230 2nd Street is home to one of America's most haunted and mysterious homes. The Lizzie Borden House gets its reputation from the unsolved murder of Lizzie Borden in 1892. She's one of the most infamous true crime figures, known for killing her father and stepmother with a hatchet. There's a twisted rhyme about this incident, but I'm not gonna sing it here. I'm not getting cursed on YouTube. So on August 4th, 1892, Lizzie's stepmother of 27 years was struck 19 times while her father, Andrew, was hit 11. Although Lizzie Borden was acquitted and found not guilty, the dark history draws in crowds every night for its nightly tour of the premises. The Lizzie Borden room, the infamous room where these horrors took place, is requested the most for paranormal overnighters. Some 1408 stuff. Would you do this? Who does this? And it's not like you can just, enjoy a lovely all-inclusive breakfast, but there's also the nightly house ghost tour, the ghost hunt, and all of that, which attracts fans of horrors every night of the year. Number 8. The Qiu Mansion. When Qiu Jinshan and Qiu Weiqing moved to Shanghai, they did what anyone would do with a suddenly gained fortune. Built a big old house smack dab in the middle of Shanghai and threw a bunch of animals inside. And not just any old animals, they kept tigers, crocodiles, and peacocks on the property, building a massive garden for their captive creatures to prowl. Their decadence was unmatched in the entire city, which makes their sudden disappearance all the more mysterious. The animals were sold off or eaten, and half of the mansion was converted into a middle school during World War II. However, in 2002, the land was bought to make way for a commercial complex. During this time, a nurse by the name of Li Fei claimed that she'd had to treat several construction workers for what were described as bite wounds. The workers recovered, but they were too terrified to return to the site. Later, several blogs described an attack in the area, as a mason attacked his manager with a hammer, claiming that lizards were making him do it. Then, only a month later, a woman living near the building claimed to see a dragon along the arm of one of the construction cranes. And if that wasn't enough, on several forums, employees of a hotel across the street from the building claimed to see ghostly animals leering in the distance. So yes, you could knock on that door. Just make sure you get your hand back. Number 7. The Haunted Ballroom. Now we're talking. This is one I for sure would want to check out. I would definitely moonwalk in a haunted ballroom. The house, if you want to call it that, is a mansion/castle that was built between 1871 and 1887 for a New Zealand politician, William Larnack. Like any other Disney castle, you have about a 3,000 square foot ballroom. Larnack gave his 21-year-old daughter a ballroom for her birthday. Here you go, Kate, now, go make a friend or two. Good luck. What would you want a ballroom for? It's just the worst gift. What happened to ponies? Well, Kate sadly passed away due to typhoid cancer, but the death doesn't get in the way for her. Apparently, the spirit of the youngster is still said to haunt the ballroom. Number 6. Lawang Sewu. Designed by Cosmin Citroën, Lawang Sewu, which translates to 1,000 doors, was the center of operations for the NIS, the first railway company in the Dutch East Indies. The complex is a collection of 4 small buildings and was a fairly beautiful, if nondescript building when the Japanese army invaded in 1942. Under their command, the building was converted into a brutal dungeon where all manners of horrific war crimes were carried out by the Japanese imperialist forces. Retaken by the Indonesian army, the complex fell into disrepair, its white paint beginning to crumble and the facade falling away to a much more sinister disposition. Legends began to circulate of the ghosts of decapitated prisoners searching for their heads, and a vampiric mother resurrected to prey upon the living, making her nest in the rafters. All of this meant that these 1,000 doors would have trouble opening for any business other than historical preservation. In that case, do you think you'd be willing to knock on one of them? Number 5. Edinburgh Castle. In Scotland's capital city, I've been there a handful of times, and it's one of my favorite places to visit. It's got a nice little castle, this Edinburgh Castle. Of course, you have to visit it every time that you go. It's a real calf workout. Some of these parts are just chilling. You can really feel the haunt in the air. And these rooms date back to more than 900 years, so the walls have seen a few fortnights. Sightings of colonial prisoners from the American Revolutionary War are common, so that's terrifying, as well as French prisoners from the 7 Years' War. If you're thinking about visiting, perhaps the ghost of the wandering dog in the castle's cemetery will convince you to stay a night. Number 4. Leap Castle. Going from Scotland to Ireland, the ancient history of Ireland is steeped in blood, and there's no better place which better exemplifies this than Leap Castle. Constructed between the 13th and 15th centuries, the castle was originally known as Leap of the O'Bannons. Subject to the O'Carroll clan, a number of power struggles were had as various groups attempted to vie for the castle. 2 brothers of the O'Carroll clan turned on one another, and in an event that would be known as the Bloody Chapel, one would slay the other in the middle of a service, running him through with a sword in front of their family. Later, it would be passed on to the Darby family. Now, Mildred Darby would frequently hold seances in the castle, leading to the stone walls becoming home to all manners of ghosts, spirits, and worse, a reputation. Some of these ghosts included the Red Lady, who stalked through the halls with a dagger, and 2 youths, one who fell from the battlements, and the other still looking for her sister. Number 3. Ram Inn. Also doubling as a functioning pub located in England, the inn has been owned and operated by many folks since the 1100s. The ancient Ram Inn has been investigated by years of paranormal researchers. Shows like Ghost Adventures, Most Haunted, you name it. They've all done paranormal research at the ancient Ram Inn. And by research, I mean they just kind of stood around for a bit in the dark and taking notes. I could never do that, and legend has it that the energy from Stonehenge apparently feeds the property's paranormal power. Not to mention, the backyard is also home to a 5,000-year-old pagan burial ground. Stonehenge feeding power, I mean that's one way to save on your electricity bill. Number 2. The Poveglia Island Asylum. Poveglia, lovely little island just outside of the city of Venice. Well, good luck getting there, because it's completely closed to the public. Fairly unnoticed until 1776, the Madrastro alla Sanita took control of the island, using it as a checkpoint for seafaring goods headed to the city proper. If you remember your Euro history class, you probably know where this is going. In 1793, the island was turned into a massive quarantine zone for the bubonic plague. What buildings did remain were then transformed into an asylum for the insane in the 1920s. Apparently, even with a doctor that supposedly experimented on their patients' brains before leaping from the building's tower in 1930, driven mad by the ghosts of his victims. The asylum was open for about 44 years before it was closed in 68. Well, there have been attempts to reopen the island as a park. None have really been successful, but honestly, I think I'd rather just not go trick-or-treating in that neighborhood. It kinda sounds like a rough part of town. Number 1. The Queen Anne Brick Mansion. Heading over to Georgia for this haunted mansion. When I say mansion, I mean Haunting of Hill House type mansion, not quite like a Will Smith mansion. You know, in Savannah's Columbia Square, the Queen Anne brick mansion was initially built in 1892 for William and Anne Kehoe and their 10 kids. After a few deaths took place in the house, the building was converted into a bed and breakfast, and since 1992, guests have reported hearing footsteps and sounds of kids playing. I wouldn't want that at a regular bed and breakfast, let alone a haunted one. I would just like to sleep. Those were the top 10 real haunted houses you don't want to trick or treat at. Comment below what's the scariest thing you've ever done on Halloween. Please remember to like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.